President Trump's family businesses used undocumented workers more widely than previously believed, with several workers losing their jobs last month at a Trump golf club in southern New Jersey. The club in Pine Hill, New Jersey, known as Trump National Golf Club of Philadelphia, was the third Trump property where undocumented workers were fired since the New York Times reported in December that the Trump Club in Bedminster, New Jersey, for years employed immigrants who were in the country illegally. The president's company resigned about a dozen undocumented workers on the Bedminster property after the article was published, as well as a dozen workers at the Trump National Golf Club of Westchester, in Briarcliff Manor, NY. People familiar with the layoffs at Pine Hill said that about 5 property workers were fired or were not informed to work again, including 2 seasonal employees who were not scheduled to work until spring. One of the people familiar with the matter said that many other seasonal workers were waiting to receive orders not to return in the coming weeks. The revelations about undocumented workers have been a shame for the Trump Organization, which came to light as Trump protested against illegal immigration. He blamed undocumented immigrants for the crime and promised to build a wall along the Mexican border to prevent more people from entering the country illegally. The company said it was tricked by officials who used false identification to get the jobs. But some of the workers at Bedminster told the Times they were kept on the payroll, even though management was aware of the false documents. A spokesman for the company declined to comment on Friday. Workers on Pine Hill property said their layoffs, which occurred in January, were abrupt. "So, I was fired," said Victor Reyes, who is from Mexico and worked in the kitchen next to the chef. "The manager called me and asked, 'Victor, are you legal?' I said, 'No, I'm not legal.' That surprised me because I knew it was illegal. I worked for him for 16 years and then he asked me," Reyes said, adding that this was his first job since he crossed the border. Reyes had worked from a dishwasher to grill and prepare orders la carte, he said, and acquired many culinary skills along the way. The layoffs at the Pine Hill Golf Club were the result of a wider audit that the Trump Organization is conducting on its properties across the country, according to people informed about the review. Although the organization has made similar revisions in previous years, this is the biggest effort so far to ensure that the company's employees are authorized to work in the country. The review presented another legal and public relations headache for corporate executives who are trying to contain the consequences of the revelations. The Trump Organization is facing a broader examination of Democratic congressmen who examine the company's business practices. At this point in the analysis, the issues seem to be concentrated in the golf clubs of Bedminster and Westchester, People says, although the discovery of undocumented workers on New Jersey property shows that the issue is more widespread than initially believed. The allegations at the Westchester Club were reported for the first time by the Washington Post. The Trump Organization announced on Tuesday that it is using a system, known as E-Verify, to prevent undocumented workers from obtaining jobs on their properties. In recent years, the company had used this system in many of its hotel properties, although it does not adopt it in most golf courses. "I must say that, for me, personally, all that is really devastating," said Eric Trump, executive vice president of the Trump Organization, in a statement on Tuesday. "Our employees are like family, but when they are presented with false documents, the employer has few options." He said the hiring of undocumented immigrants was not an exclusive problem of the Trump Organization, and that it shows that our immigration system is seriously broken and needs to be fixed immediately. About 8 million undocumented workers participate in the United States workforce, and it is an open secret that they use false documents to be hired, usually social security numbers and permanent residency cards. The Pine Hill Club has an 18-hole golf course surrounded by maple and pine trees on 365 acres. Members enjoy putting greens and a clubhouse of 43,000 square meters, where weddings and other events are held. Sitting on top of a hill, it has a view of the Philadelphia skyline. The golf club employs 100 to 200 people, many of them in seasonal jobs. The immigrants employed there were in charge of watering, cutting and manicuring the greens. The maintenance of the banquet hall, which has capacity for 300 people. And prepare food in the club restaurant. Since the workers do not have lawyers and remain in the country illegally, two of those who described the dismissals, as well as the members of their families, did not want to be identified. The workers said that those who were fired were summoned for a meeting with Eric Quinn, the general manager, and a human resources executive they believed to be from the Trump organization. Each was informed that their documents did not pass the inspection after an audit and that they had to leave the premises immediately, leaving some of the workers who did not have an authorization card to board and find their home. People were being fired on the spot, without warning, without anything. There was no time to find a job, said one worker, who declined to be identified. The worker said that the immigrants were well treated by the club's management and that some of them broke up when they were fired. It is not easy to find a job if you do not have documents, after having worked there, the official said. The general manager, according to several reports, would have regretted the allegations. Pine Hill Club executives declined to comment. The problem of undocumented workers on Trump's property came to light in December, when the Times wrote about Victorina Morales of Guatemala, housekeeper on the Bedminster property that made the president's bed, washed her clothes and beat her golf trophies for 5 years. After Mr. Trump was elected, a manager told him that his false documents had expired and helped her acquire new documents. Morales said that, on his lawyer's advice, he stopped working on December 4, 2 days before the article in the Times was published. The lawyer, and Al Romero, said that neither he nor his client were notified that she was fired and that her employment status was not clear. Morales, who was protected from deportation because she requested asylum, was invited by her Democratic Congresswoman, Bonnie Watson Coleman, to attend the State of the Union address on Tuesday. Sandra Diaz, a native of Costa Rica and a legal resident of the United States, who claimed to be undocumented while working at the Trump complex, will also participate. She will be the guest of Deputy Jimmy Giaz, Democrat from California. Another undocumented worker, Emma Torres, told the Times that someone in Human Resources at the Bedminster Club had removed her name and other names of undocumented workers from a list of officials subject to the Secret Service in 2017. Mrs. Torres gave up little then own will. At Pine Hill, Reyes said he was well treated by Quinn, the general manager, and expressed gratitude for the opportunity to grow professionally during his years at the golf club, where his work was recognized. He said throughout the years, at work, his repertoire of dishes grew and he learned English. I've had a lot of increases, said the immigrant from Puebla, who said he earned $18 per hour. The money allowed him to pay the rent and send money to his family in Mexico. He received his first bonus in all his years working at the club, he said at the end of December. In retrospect, Reyes wonders if that was because management knew he would not be welcome back after the winter hiatus. Now, he said, he is boiling with a sense of betrayal. I loved my job, I learned to cook everything. They helped me grow, she said, bursting into tears. Now I feel bad. I do not trust anyone. Trump, who during his campaign called Mexicans rapists and criminals, made security on the border and protected jobs from the American pillars of his presidency. His commitment to erect a border wall resulted in the recent partial paralysis of the government. He considered illegal immigration a big and important problem, and his government intensified attacks on workplaces and payroll audits in companies suspected of employing undocumented workers.